All of you, welcome back in third lecture on chapter number second, pteridophyte, from credit number first, from botany paper first. The name of the paper is Plant Life and Utilization paper second. I am Dr. Mukta Bhamre, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Ketechum College, Nasik. So, the student session agenda of today's lecture, chapter number second, pteridophyte. Within that, in today's lecture, we will focus on life cycle of nephrolipids with respect to habit, habitat, distribution, and external morphology of sporophyte of nephrolipids. So, in previous lecture, we already seen that the pteridophyte, introduction to pteridophyte, then general characteristic of pteridophyte. Okay, the pteridophytes are nothing but the vascular cryptogames, okay, that plants do not produce flowers and seed, and they reproduce only via the spores. And these pteridophytes, it is also called as a primitive land vascular plants. So the outline classification of pteridophyte, okay, so the student, we already seen that in previous lecture. So according to the Sporny in 1976, the pteridophyte division, it is divided into the classes like as a Psilopsida, Psilotopsida, Lycopsida, Spenopsida, and Pteropsida. Okay, and Pteropsida, and the last one is a Progymnospermopsida. And each and every class, okay, we already seen the characteristic of each and every class. Okay, so the student, I am focusing here the life cycle of nephrolipids. So the student, here the habit, nephrolipase. Here the nephron, it's mean the kidney, okay, and lepis, it is means the indusium, kidney shape, and the scale like. This nephrolipase, it is represented by near about the 30 different species, and the mature plant body, it is a sporophytic plant body, and this mature plant body, it is differentiated into rhizome, root, and leaves. So the student, next I am focusing here the habitat. So this nephrolipase plant, it is a evergreen fern, terrestrial in habitat, and it is a native to tropical region throughout the world. It is a commonly occur in a humid forest, swamps, especially the South America, North America, Florida, West Indies, and India. All these countries, okay, the nephrolipase are specifically found, and it shows the luxuriant growth on this region. And the student, remember that this nephrolipase, it is a specifically preferred the cool, moist, and humid forest, shady places, okay, for their growth. So the student, next I am focusing here the distribution. Nephrolipase, it is consisting of the 30 species, and that species distributed in the tropical of the tropics of the world. So here the Nephrolipase hexalata, it is one of the famous species of the Nephrolipase, shows the alternation of generation. Okay, within the life cycle of the Nephrolipase, it's have two different phases. One is the diploid sporophytic generation. It is a dominant and diploid, and it is a well differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. Okay, and the another generation, it is a haploid gametophytic generation, and this haploid gametophytic generation, it is a start after germinating the haploid spore, and this gametophytic generation, see the it's produced the protonema, or that haploid gametophyte, they produce the gametes. Okay, they bears the sex organ. The male sex organ, it is antheridia, while female sex organ is archegonia. So the student, remember that in a life cycle of nephrolipase, it shows the distinct two phases. One is the sporophytic generation, it is a dominant and diploid in nature, while the gametophytic generation, it is a haploid in nature. So the next I am focusing here external morphology of sporophyte in nephrolipase. So the student, the plant body of the nephrolipase, it is a sporophyte, and this plant body, it is a perennial, it is a dominant and differentiated into stem, roots and leaves. So the student, here the stem it is a erect, short, thick stem is there. It is a condensed cylindrical and this is oblique space into the soil. Such a stem it is a commonly called as a rootstock, or it is a commonly called as a rhizome. Okay. So the student remember that the stem it get modified into the rhizome. It is a subterranean, means it is a just beneath the soil surface. It is a short, erect, and it's also covered with the pelted scale. So it is very rough, okay, due to the persistent leaf bases are there. So the student leaves are very long, narrow, and it is a feather shape, feather like, and it's having a some sub coriaceous, and it is a unipennately compound leaves are there. So the student pinna, it is a sessile or it is a shortly petiolated. Each pinna has articulated with a pouch-like structure at the base. Then within the leaflet, the prominent veins are present. Okay, so venlets branch with the open ends, and at the tip there is a gland dotteds are present, and it is extended up to the margin. So the students see this is the external morphology of the sporophyte. See this is the leaves. Okay, so see this is the Nephrolipis plant. See this is the external structure of the Nephrolipis sporophyte. See this is the rhizome. Okay, so see there is a lower side, there is a roots are present. Okay, so see this is the petiole. See this is the rachis. Okay, this is the entire, it is called blade or the compound leaf. Okay, it's having a petiole, and then see this is the rachis. On that rachis there is a leaflets are present. So the student, first I am focusing here the rhizome. So the student, the rhizome, it get means stem, it is get modified into the rhizome. So the rhizome, it is a very short, slender. It is a sub-erect in a Nephrolipis cordifolia species. Erect rhizome, it is a found in a Nephrolipis exhalata, or it is a wide creeping rhizome. It is a found in a Nephrolipis volubilis, goes up to the 50 feet over the tree. Its bear are close tufts of leaves, and long slender lateral branches are there. It is called the runner, or it is also called the stolon. Okay, remember that. And from that runner or stolon, it's a runner. It is a run all direction, and it's help in a production of the new Nephrolipis plant. The runners spread from a considerable distance and bear the root. So the student, this rhizome, it is a caudex. It is a fully covered with the scale with a pelted base and thin pale edges, often bears of fine hairs. At intervals, there is a stolon produced, okay, or it is called the runner. Adventitious roots below and bud, or there is a spur above the ground, and which develop into the new plant under the favorable condition. Thus, they perform the function of vegetative propagation. Okay, then there is a leaves are produced. Okay, at the means crown like leaves are present. Okay, it is a tufts. Okay, tufts fashion. So then there is a root is there. Okay, the root here, the lower side of that rhizome, there is bears the roots. So the student, roots here, the branch adventitious roots arises from the rhizome, and runners in acropetal succession. So the leaves are there. Okay, so the leaves are tufted, long, narrow, and simply pinnate leaves are there. So this each leaves, it is a, see the leaves are large. It is a pinnately compound and spirally arranged towards the apex of the caudex. Each leaf, it is a differentiated into basal part without the leaflet. It is a known as a stipe, and upper part, it is a produce the leaflets, which are known as a frond. Then this tip is brown in color, smooth, and it is a polished. The frond consisting of the central axis. Okay, that frond axis, it is called the rachis, which bears the leaflets or pinnas, and they are arranged on either side. The pinna are slightly, there is a falcate and auriculated to the rachis, and the young frond, it is silver white in color and coiled inward from apex to the base like the spring of the watch. And such a type of folding of the young leaf, it is called the circinate physics, okay, phytics, or it is called the circinate phyllotaxis, okay. So the leaves are tufted, long, narrow, and simply pinnate. So petiole, okay, the stalk of the leaf, it is a 2.5 to 10 centimeter long in a Nephrolepis cordifolia and up to the 20 centimeter long in a Nephrolepis acuta. The frond are 30 centimeter in Nephrolepis ramosa species, up to 240 centimeter in a Nephrolepis acuta. Then pinna are numerous, crowded, often imbricate, 3 centimeter long in a Nephrolepis cordifolia to 20 centimeter long in Nephrolepis acuta. Slightly, it is a falcate and articulated at the base, and margins are entire or slightly crenate margin is there. Succinate margin, the veins are free and there are present while line dots over the vein tips. Sori are present on the lower surface. Sori are half the way between the midrib and margin in a single rows. Young leaves are covered with the multicellular hairs and scale and shows the succinate venation. So the students see this is the leaf, okay. So the leaflets, see this is the petiole, okay. Then see this is the rachis, and on that rachis there is a leaflets are there or pinnas are there, okay. So the student leaflet or pinna is a sessile, okay, means they do not having a means a petiole for leaflet, okay. Lanceolate shape, see this is a spoon shape, okay, broad base, and the apex it is a narrower, okay. It is a lanceolate spoon shape, okay, with acute apex. See the apex is acute, okay, and slightly crenate margin. Each pinna or leaflet it is about 6 to 8 centimeter in length and 2 centimeter in a width. They shows a distinct midrib with the forked lateral veins are there, and it is ending into the white dot which are called the hydathode. Okay, the hydathode is present. So the next student, see this is the leaves, okay. So on the basal surface, okay, the dorsal and ventral surface, okay, the see here at the back side of the leaf, okay, see this is the rachis, okay. See it is covered with the hairs, okay, rachis, it is also having a hairs are there, okay. And see on that back side there is a dot like structures are there, brown dotted structures are there, it is a nothing but the sora, okay. And see this is the prominent midrib is there, okay. So the student when that leaves it consisting the sora, okay, it is called the sporophyll, okay, it is not called vegetative leaves, okay. Sporophyll means the sora bearing leaves, okay. So the next the student, the each I'm telling you that see there is a position of hydathode. See this is the auricle is there, okay, lobed is there, okay, and see this is the prominent midrib is there, okay. And see from that prominent midrib there is a forked veins are arises, okay. And at that end of that forked vein there is a dotted glands are present, that white dot which are called as a hydathode, okay. So the students see this is the structure of the single large hydathode. Each hydathode is present at the vein ending. These are the white dot arranged into the longitudinal rows on the dorsal surface. See, these are the dorsal surface, and see this hydathode it is arises in a longitudinal rows. Okay, longitudinal rows on the dorsal surface along the margin of each pinna or leaflet. The central part of the hydathode consists of the group thin wall parenchyma cell. See, this is the central portion of the hydathode. It is a consisting of what? The thin wall parenchyma cells are there. So it is a sunk into the minute oval depression which is covered by the 2 or 3 layers. See, this is the minute oval depression, and see it is covered by 3 to 4 layer of the rectangular epithelial cell. See the students, see this is the epithelial cell, okay. This is the rectangular epithelial cells are there, and these cells of these hydathode are hygroscopic in nature, okay. And they are also called as a water stomata. They excrete the water in the form of liquid, and this process is known as a guttation, okay. See this is the vein ending, this is the epidermal cells, okay. Then this is the epithelial cell, and this is the parenchymatous cells, okay. So the students say this is regarding to the hydathode, okay. So the stem and leaves usually when it is in anger condition, okay. So see this is the Raminta, okay. The stem and leaves, usually when young, are covered by many brown scale-like structure. That brown scale-like structure, it is nothing but the ramenta, okay, or it is also called as a ramentum, which protect the young parts of the plant against the adverse climatic condition. And each ramentum, it is a membranous. See, this is the structure of the ramentum. It is a membranous. It is a multicellular in nature. It is a triangular pyramid in shape, okay. And these ramenta, it is made up of the single layer of the cells. These cells are dry with a thin brown wall with a marginal cells giving out hair-like structure. They are protective in function. That means they protect the plant from heavy rain, water and high temperature. So the students see, this is regarding to the ramenta. So the student, in this lecture, we already covered the external morphology of the Nephrolepis plant sporophyte. Okay, it is regarding with the habitat, then distribution of the Nephrolepis. Then we already focused at the external morphology of sporophyte, the stem, root, and leaves. Okay, then hydroid, ramenta, all these part we already covered in this lecture. So the student, in next lecture, okay, the lecture number 4, we will focus on the internal structure of the sporophyte, in which we will see the tiers of stolon, tiers of rachis, okay, then tiers of leaflet or pinna. We will focus in a next lecture. Thank you.